come up during my time here. And it appears that we're paying him to lease this land from us.
That's a typographical error that I cleared with Ramona today, and she said we might want to mention it. It's reversed. He pays us.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up.
That's a little more reasonable. Thank you. Although I guess I still have a couple of questions. Because those are pretty. I know lots and lots of folks who would be pretty blown away by the opportunity to lease 35 acres of quality farmland for $1 a month. I think lots of people who would jump at that opportunity. Why is this opportunity being given to one particular person?
Well, this was done quite a bit before I was here also, but Mr. Harrod lives there. The property adjoins his property. And the 35 acres, if you look at aerial view, I don't know how many exact acres there's like 2 pasture lands, small pasture lands that he has horses that he lets them graze. The rest of it is wooded area. He mows it, maintains it, takes care of it. It's not accessible from Capitol View Park unless we built a big bridge over. There's a ravine from like where the football field is, and you go in the woods, there's a huge ravine from the river. And there's no accessible way. You have to come off Spring Hill Drive and down through his property. So that's why he's had it leased since '77. He had it leased with the state before. We didn't take over Capitol View until '85. So it's just been going on. It's been a 5-year renewal, ongoing type thing.
How do those, I think this is a question for our city solicitor, but how do easements work when it comes to property like that? As in, if this 35 acres were owned and maintained by a completely separate party, would that be access required? You know?
Since that property is coming from the city, he would need to have, or he or she, the tenant would either need to have some type of drive through the remaining part of the park that the city uses,
sure.
Or if they wanted to go through Mr. Harrod's property, he would have to, they would have to negotiate with Mr. Harrod to obtain a lease. Because that 35 acres did not come out of Mr. Harrod's property, you don't have the theory that he would have to provide an easement through his property. In other words, he'd have to either come through the city property, or Mr. Harrod would have to grant them an easement subject to the tenant negotiation of something that's satisfactory to both of them.
But neither Mr. Harrod nor the city would be under any legal obligation to provide an easement.
If the city leases that 35 acres to an entity, anyone who leases that acreage would include an easement for the to come through the city property. And of course, the problem is by coming through the city property, you have to go over that ravine.
Sure. But and so you're saying that the city would be legally obligated to provide the easement?
We would not.
Okay.
I don't think we'd have to. We would be legally obligated to do that. No.
Okay.
If a tenant was foolish enough to lease the property without having some type of right-of-way throughout the property, I would say that would be too bad for the tenant, but I'm sure we would work with the tenant to negotiate reasonable access to that tract.
Just curious. Thank you. I will say that, I will, just as a final comment, I will say that I still think that $1 a month for 35 acres of good farmland is quite a deal. Question, item 6.2 on the agenda relates to, I think it's a resolution.
That's the resolution of October?
Yeah.
Top of page 5?
Yeah, top of page 5. So So this is an authorization to enter into a lease agreement with TCR Equipment Finance with respect to the garbage containers to be obtained from Twitter Inc. This number is obviously higher. It's still less than the $200,000 a year that staff originally estimated. It is also obviously a good deal higher than the quote we got from Toter. Is that just because it's interest on essentially on a loan?
Yes. In discussions with Toter, when we finalized the contract on Friday, we'd actually talked with Kelly Clark at Toter, our contact there, and she indicated that they generally use this TCF equipment finance when they did leases of materials and equipment that they sold. And it just so happened that TCF Equipment Finance is an entity that the city entered into a 5-year lease with last year for, I believe, the purchase of something for the fire department, I think, but maybe it was public works. It was a garbage truck, that's right. So it was public works. So in any event, we immediately got on the telephone to TCF Equipment Finance and talked to Dave Pinoff there, and Mr. Pinoff reacted very quickly and was able to get this quote to the city. The amount may change very minimally, but by having the first payment made right now, that actually reduced the amount of finance charge that you're paying over the term of the 5-year lease.
So it is fair to assume that if we had gone with municipal instead of Toter, their informal bid, so to speak, was higher than Toter's. But it's fair to assume that any finance agreement we entered into with them would also be higher than this number here in item 6.2. Is that fair?
I would say that's true, because you're having to deal with a third-party leasing company, and of course, they're going to include some finance charge in there over that 5-year term.
Well, that begs another question, and it's tempting not to even bring this up, because politically it would be a lot easier to lease this out over 5 years. It looks like we're going to pay about $70,000 for that privilege. I'm wondering if looks like we're going to spend $70,000 over the course of 5 years just to avoid spending cash on hand. That would certainly be much easier. Is that really more fiscally responsible? I'm not claiming to know the answer, but I think the question should be put on the table.
The city certainly has the option to go either way. I personally hate these 5-year leases because they're complicated and you just pay a finance charge, but you have the option in front of you to either go with the 5-year lease or to pay for the whole amount up front. To pay for the whole amount up front would require I think it would require budgeting and
I need to push this. I just wanted to put it on the table. If there's any interest in thinking about this and coming back to look into that, as well as the commission to move forward. I just wanted to put it on the table. I guess I don't have any further comment on that if nobody else does.
Just a question. Do we have, I don't have the actual.
Commissioner, would you mind if you could
I'm sorry, Mayor. I don't actually have the lease purchase agreement and other documents in my folder. Does it tell, do we know what the finance rate is, percentage?
We're to receive those documents tomorrow. Since the contract wasn't signed until, by both parties until last Friday, the lease people were still working to put together the documents. I expected to receive them today, but did not, so I expect to receive them tomorrow. And as soon as I get them, I'll email them to Ramona and ask her to go ahead and distribute them to the city manager and the commissioners. If you want me to, I can actually shoot it out to you all tomorrow, but I know you're gonna have a lot on your plate with the inaugural events.
Mayor, just one more on finance. What kind of rate are we getting on, what kind of return rate are we getting on overnight deposits and other accounts right now?
But anywhere from 0.5% to 1%.
I guess my question was going in terms of the cost of money. If the finance rate, which I'm sure will be higher than 0.5% or 1%, is more than what we're getting on our rate on our investments, rate of return on investments. I mean, I guess that would be something that would be considered. That's why I was asking the question if we go to the finance rate was. But that's all. I'll wait for the information. Thank you.
I would like to know the finance rate.
I would too.
I mean, I'll note that I think the price is still a good product, at a good price and a good time frame, and even with this finance rate, because they're still coming in cheaper than originally anticipated, but that's still good information for us to have. My other tentative agenda items relate to discussion items, so they can wait. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, comments, additions to the agenda?
Well, since I'm going to bring it up later, but just to y'all preview, I am going to request that we remove the approval of the audit. We're about to hear a presentation from at least remove it from the consent calendar, preferably. Set it aside until next January. This was a big fuss at the beginning of this year. When the false last term tried to pull a fast one, it only gave us 3 days to sit with an audit that had been presented to us before we were asked to approve it. It was presented on December 13th and we were asked to approve it on December 16th, or we were going to be until enough of a fuss was raised to put it off to give us an additional 2 weeks to review the audit before being asked to approve it. But it looks like, it looks like somebody's trying to pull the exact same thing again. Not acceptable. I believe Commissioner Turner and I both in January made it pretty clear that we felt that that the Commission should be given ample time to review the audit before being asked to approve it.
Is there any other?
Yeah, I did look at, I had an email copy of a lot of the information already. Did that go out to everybody?
As I mentioned at the previous work session, the email copy I got was password protected and I wasn't able to access it.
Okay, I sent you a code, password code to it.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, but I sent it out Monday. Last Monday.
Well, I hadn't actually seen a draft of this thing until today, and it hadn't, and it obviously isn't.
Password.
Did you have any support from Commissioner Wilder's suggestion?
Well, this was something the Commissioner Turner signed off on in January, so I guess I'd like his input too. I believe you and I both in January called bull crap on on the fact that there was an effort made to present the audit in December and giving us less than 2 weeks to approve it, pass its presentation. And here it is being presented today. We're being asked to approve it a week from now without, and it's on the consent calendar, which means that technically we won't even have the opportunity to discuss it in a week.
Well, I think that, if I may, Mayor, I think that back in January, I made the same stink about this. An audit's one of those things that generally I prefer a little more time to look at in order to review it, to make a responsible decision. Are there any deadlines that we have to meet or something that I'm not aware of to have the audit approved by?
No.
So there wouldn't be a major issue to table the approval until January for that?
No, I put, just let me, if I could say one thing, I sent you all an electronic copy last Monday, and then I put a copy in everybody's file last Monday at the same time. So you've had a week to look at it, and then you'll have, another week to look at it for the approval process, so 2 weeks. But, we couldn't make that any quicker than we did because, the audit was complete, I reckon, on Friday afternoon, the previous Friday afternoon. So that's, if we want to start doing it that way, that's fine. If you want to, always put the approval the following month, that's fine.
We traditionally have the audit presented to us formally in a commission meeting and given 2 weeks before we approve it. I'm not suggesting we do anything differently. I'm suggesting we do things the same way we always have. And when you tried to give us 3 weeks a month ago, we called bull crap. Now it seems like you're trying to do the same thing again.
Now, let me explain to you. I want to go back to that previous December thing. I'd worked with the auditor to try to get the same, like a week in advance before we had the meeting, get the audit report out. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. They couldn't finish the audit report. So finally, at the very last, they said, we can't get it done, so I pulled it, and then we presented it the following month. That's what happened.
Sure, that's very different than the story you gave us a year ago.
Well, that's what happened, so.
A year ago, I asked you very directly. I asked you and Greg McClough both to present the previous audit. I asked you very directly who was responsible for trying to get this on the December agenda while only giving us 3 days. And your and Greg's response was essentially that you asked to put it on the agenda at Greg's request because he felt it would be ready by then. I then did an open records request on
I requested it. I never told you that, so.
Right, you're lying to your teeth. I did an open records request. That's exactly what you said to us then. I did an open records request on all communications between you and Charles T. Mitchell. And that open records request turned up an email that made it very clear that you made the request.
I made the request. I drove the request the whole time. I never said that. So I'm sorry to disagree with you, but we disagree.
Right.
I never said that Greg made the request. I made the request because I was trying to get the audit done before the previous commission finished their term, just so we could have that cleaned up.
You told us on the record, and this is on tape, Steve, to think very carefully about your response to this. You told us on the record that you requested this be added to the agenda because Charles T. Mitchell felt that they were going to have the audit done by then. That's what you told us.
Well, so what? I mean, they were working to get it finished. I was pushing them to finish it. That's true. Both of those statements are true. They were pushing it. I was pushing to get it through. They were pushing to try to finish the audit. Both of those statements are true.
Given an opportunity, I guess I'd ask the commission to go back and review audio recordings of our January work session where we discussed this. I thought it was pretty clear that we were being led to believe that Charles T. Mitchell felt they could get the audit done by then, and that they made the request of Steve to add this to the December agenda as a result.
They didn't ask me. I put it on there myself. I put it on there in December because they were pushing to get it done. At the very end there, they said, hey, we tried, we can't get it done by December. So I pulled it. I pulled it a couple of days before the meeting. And I was sweating it too because I knew y'all were going to have any time to review the audit report. So I said, this thing needs to be pulled. They just kept pushing and pushing, trying to get it done. They couldn't get it done, so I pulled it. I don't have anything to hide. That's what happened.
So you denied it in January,
In January, when you asked me at night, if you listen to the tape, you'll hear me say, I made the recommendation. You'll hear it on the tape. At night that you asked, I said, I made the recommendation.
Right. Yeah, no, so you all say a lot of things, you say that you made.
No, you'll hear it on the tape, so
You made
please
the
listen.
recommendation, because Greg McLaughlin and Charles Steve Mitchell.
What's the direction we want here? What are we trying to do?
I don't understand what we're trying to do either.
I'm just saying.
They just want more time to review the audit.
Yeah, just effort, yeah, at the same time we'll normally get them.
Did you just receive yours? I've had mine since last Monday.
As I noted at our work session, I think it was at our work session last Monday, I was only aware of having received an email document that was password protected, but either way, it hasn't been presented to us. What we're about to hear, and it's on the agenda, is a presentation of the audit. We're about to be walked through it, we're about to be told, what this and that is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the presentation of the audit here today.
Right.
I mean, we've received a draft copy. I wasn't aware of having received it a week ago, but sure, we received a draft copy a week ago. But the audit hadn't been presented yet. It still hasn't been presented to us.
Right.
So, and more of the point, it's been added to the consent calendar a week from today. We're prohibited from discussing items on the consent calendar. An effort is being made to present this audit to us and to ask us to vote on it in a week, without actually giving that specific item an up or down vote, without allowing us to discuss it when we do. So I'm insisting that we are moved from the consent calendar at least.
That's not a problem.
Commissioner May.
I was gonna say, could we just move it from the consent calendar and then we'll be forced to have discussion?
We can remove it.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about the fact that we went through all this a year ago, and we're going to go through it again. And here we are.
Anything else?
Not on the tentative agenda.
Now we have old business. Any old business? Commissioner Wilder.
I know that a number of folks are here to discuss downtown parking. It's just an appropriate time to discuss it, I think.
Pardon?
I think this is an appropriate time to discuss it. I think a number of folks are here to sound off one way or the other on it. My suggestion is that we hear from them before opening this up.
I suppose if you want to talk about the parking, you may just so. Yeah.
Oh, you're saying you're not going to let anybody else talk about it?
I wish if they want to talk about it, I wish it was done during the citizen comments. I would prefer that. I think that would have been a more appropriate time to do it.
I believe it was communicated to them, even via official city communications, that this would either be discussed under city comments or old business.
I have not seen it. This is what I've seen here.
I did in an email, when they requested to have it on the agenda, and it's rather late in the process, and we were still gathering information on it. I did in an email suggest to Mr. Gray, who made the request, that it could be addressed in citizen comments or possibly the old business.
Okay. If you suggested that, it's fine. So you want him to come here and make another presentation? Come forward.
Yep.
For the record, my name is John Gray, and I'm here to speak for the Downtown Business and Property Owners Organization. Last time I was here, I made a request.
What's the name of the organization, sir?
Depot. downtown business and property owners.
Organization Incorporated?
It's not incorporated. I was here, I guess, at the last work session and made a request that you all consider adding parallel parking and another loading zone, excuse me, on St. Clair. And you asked that I speak to the Downtown Merchants Association and also get comments from stakeholders. And I sent you copies. I did attend the Downtown Merchants Association and explained to them what our group was proposing to do. And I sent you all their comments. Everyone at the Merchants Association was in favor of adding parallel parking and another loading zone on St. Clair. Also contacted stakeholders, and our thought was that that meant people that own businesses and property on St. Clair. And heard back from them too, and I also sent you their comments. As a result of those comments, we've amended our proposal a little bit. What we were asking for before was 8 parallel parking spaces and a 3 parking space loading zone. It turns out that the 3 space parking loading zone for the large trucks might not be large enough, so we've expanded that to 4 parking spaces, and you can see that on the map in front of 331, 329, and part of 325. It also looks like we could add 3 more parking spaces in the cutout in front of 323 and 321 St. Clair. So if we do this, what we would add is 11 parallel parking spaces and a loading zone in front of 331, 329, and 325 that would accommodate the large beer delivery trucks, and then a loading zone on the west side of St. Clair in front of 314 and 324 St. Clair. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gray, thank you so much for coming back, and I really appreciate you going to the Downtown Merchant Association and seeking their input. The only primary question that I have is, I know that Chief Passage had mentioned an issue maybe with the fire trucks on St. Clair. Does that, do you know, maybe Chief could probably answer this, the spot that we put out for a loading zone on the left-hand side of St. Clair and that loading dock, would that be able to facilitate a fire truck if it's spanning out if needed? Do you know?
I believe so, and that was part of the original proposal.
Great.
I do have a couple of other questions, but I think some other folks are here to speak to this as well. Just soon hear from them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Britton, would you like to make some comments on this?
Certainly.
Or someone should?
I'm going to invite Terry
Yes. No.
Bennett to join me.
Then identify yourself.
Terry Bennett.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm still going to use that.
Brittany Skinner of Downtown Frankfort and our Executive Director of Downtown Frankfort and our Board Chairman, Terry Phillips Bennett.